Well, we're back again to Let's Talk Nerd. Thank you, everyone, for joining in this second episode. We have Aditya from India. He's a owner and founder, and like brainiac and nerd behind Animal Factory Amplification. And like I said, we're gonna talk about a lot of stuff, and he's a really interesting and very nerdy guy to get to know. So feel free to make your questions like always, and to like just interrupt and send your anything that you want to ask him about his life experience, career. And yeah, that's all I have to say. You're all welcome. I hope you have your glass of wine or beer because we are very well set. And I'm not gonna say anything else. Just introduce our next guest. So, yay! Hi, how you doing? Welcome.
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is pretty cool. I think this is also the first podcast of its type. I don't know any other synth and synth geek, audio geek. Um, I don't know, video chat, podcast, anything.
Interviewing is everything. Yeah. But thank you so much for
Yeah,
accepting the invitation, dude. Yeah, I'm
yeah, of
really
course. Like
happy.
it's like the Joe Rogan of synth DIY. So like
Yeah.
you could probably have like questions of I don't know, instead of saying like this one time I did D&D, you could say, yeah, this one time I sold it I sold it a BGA package using hot air.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
there's no filter. Feel free.
yeah, yeah, no, this is exciting. So
Yeah.
it's also a great company to be in with people like Hainbach and the other guests who are coming up who I will not reveal unless you have you revealed them.
Sorry, what?
The future guests. Uh,
This is not a rocket science?
oh, okay. I didn't know there was already information out
Yes,
there, so
yes,
I didn't
yes,
want
it's
to say
public.
anything.
Yeah, it's public. Yeah, yeah, it will be
No, it's,
next.
it's good company to be in.
Yes, yes. This season, I just decided to go full modular man, and it's fucking awesome to have you here.
Yeah.
So let's try to talk nerd.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, like asking you how are you like like doing there? Like, where are you from, and where do you grow up?
I'm from here. I'm from Bombay, and I pretty much grew up in Bombay as well until I was 18. So just before my 19th birthday, I left and I went to Germany to study. And I think you could say I also did a lot of growing up in Germany because that was kind of from 18 to 26 were kind of the formative years of my life. So I would say, yeah, I grew up mostly in Bombay, but also very much in Germany.
What do you study there, or what do you study in?
I I studied after a lot of trial and error. I did a degree in medical engineering, so that's medical device design basically,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a pretty it was not really new, but it was fairly new at its time even that we had a faculty that was very young in terms of age, and I think it was just a few years into the program. The program I started was it was the first year of the program at that university, in fact. Um, so it was interesting because you had all these different. The interesting thing about medical engineering, it's not a field because it takes from a little bit of medicine, a little bit of communications engineering, a little bit of electrical engineering, a little bit of material science, and you have to kind of be on top of all those things.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a lot of breadth, not necessarily a lot of depth in everything, but you should be fairly, um, you should have a wide outlook
Mm-hmm.
in that sense, at least when I did it.
All right, and wow, how long was that? How long did that career took the degree?
Technically or actually?
How long it took you?
Okay. It took me 5.5 years.
All right, come on, it's not that.
4-year degree. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I worked a lot in the middle and stuff. It took me 5.5 years to do a 4-year degree. And before that, I was doing just random things like learning German and trying to get my. So German, I think most of Europe doesn't recognize non-European school leaving because we have 1 year less. So India has 12 years, Europe has 13. So what people are doing in school in Europe is kind of what we do in first year of university, in a way. At least according to the old system. I don't know what it's like now. It took me 5.5 years. I lived in Germany for a total of 7.5 years, I think, with breaks. So that's my wife.
Hi. Okay, then you studied that, and what made you decide to go like just to start designing synthesizers? What was the breaking point that led you to like medical engineering to synth manufacturing?
The synth thing was never actually. The synth thing is very new for me. I wasn't into designing synths or anything at that time. I did do a lot of. So my building electronic circuits started when I was 17, I think, because I wanted to build distortion circuits. And you have to understand. I don't know. Maybe you actually probably can understand because you're originally from Brazil, and we have very similar economies. And you know what it's like to import things from other countries over there. So when I was growing up, you didn't have that much in terms of musical equipment that you could buy. Everything that was done was made. Whatever was made locally was really bad quality, like really bad quality. And even a simple Boss pedal was easily 1.5 to 2 times the price in the US, which was a crazy amount of money for what you were getting. So, and most, like a lot of, you couldn't really, there was no variety either. So it was Digitech and Boss, I think. So, and somebody told me that, there's, you can get these schematics on the internet. And I said, what's a schematic and what is the internet? Because we've just gotten 28.8 kbps modems. And he said, it's a circuit diagram. And I had no idea what I was doing, actually. So I got the diagram, there were these symbols on it. And we'd done a little bit of it in physics or something. But beyond that, I didn't know anything. So, but one of my friends was studying electronics, and he says, "Oh, this is very simple. This is a transistor, this is a resistor, this is a capacitor." I said, "Well, can you help me build this?" I thought it was going to be really easy because it's just like a few, I don't know, less than €1 in parts, and it turned out it was, but it didn't work. It worked for 3 seconds, and then it just died and never made any sounds again. But that's how I started. So I was 17 when I did that, and then all the engineering stuff came much later. So I didn't start doing university studies till I think 3 years later. So I started university a little later, and I was already tinkering and building stuff at that time. So.
All right. So that was before your studies.
Yeah, I have to say I wasn't good at it. So there was a lot of stuff. I've thrown away. There's been a long period in which I threw away more circuits than I actually completed. So it was crazy because I was doing all this shit at home. I was etching PCBs and everything, and my mom was going crazy because I was using ferric fluoride, and there were these green stains on the bed and the window and the floor, and you just couldn't get them out. So yeah, it was pretty messy. And even the way I was doing it, because I was doing the toner transfer method, I don't know, and I didn't have we didn't have transfer paper or anything. I just took normal paper and I would just press the iron onto it till it's stuck in place more or less, and then let the ferric chloride do its work. It was nasty.
Shit.
It was great in a way because you had to do things in a very constrained way. It wasn't like you could just go to Radio Shack and buy some parts. Nobody knew what you wanted. I mean, there were no 3P switches and no Hammond boxes, and none, none of that stuff was available to you.
Yeah, I had to be
So you had to get creative and kind of just like work with whatever you had. So that I think that was also what made me go down this path in a way.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. How is? I mean, we talked about this before, like a few times, and it is expensive also to, like you were saying, like bringing parts in there. How that affects the synth community in India? How is the synth community in there? You can laugh about it. Is there a synth
Very
community?
It's very small, very small. Um, I think there's a handful of very dedicated people, and then there's the real pros, but you never hear about them because they're in the music industry, and they're super busy and they don't have time to do anything that's outside of their scope of work. So I think you have to look at two very different scenes. There's a music industry scene, which I have very little real connection to, because these are the people who are doing the, say, let's say Bollywood films or advertising movies or something, and they are bombarded with work. Maybe not so much now, but usually when they're creating content, that's crazy. And then there's the independent scene, which is very different. I think over here it's still very much a software-driven scene, so it's very much Ableton
And more than
actually, I mean, it's pretty much Ableton-driven, I guess. And there is a small, and I think there was a bit of a hardware scene coming up through some friends of mine. So this friend of mine, Himanshu, who's also like he's kind of the opposite of me music-wise, because his stuff is very lush and very clean and very expansive, and he's like this master of MIDI sequencing. He'll use like 3 shrutis and 2 MABs on stage with 4 drum machines, and he has like 1 squab sequencing everything. And with me, it's just like 1 drum machine, 1 synth, and everything goes through distortion, and the distortion feeds back into itself. So it's interesting. So Himanshu actually started this community which started growing a bit called the Geodo community, and he just have these meetups where a bunch of people come with their synths, and we just connect to 1 MIDI clock, and then just jam out, and there was no real structure to it or anything. So it was kind of interesting. Difficult is in Bombay. Bombay is a very, very expensive city. It's very hard to get. So real estate is crazy. Because real estate is crazy, like restaurants, pubs, all of these places, live music venues need to see return. And because they need to see return, they're just not going to give you a place to use for free all the time. So there's one great place over here locally called The Den, and they were really nice, and I mean they've been great in the music scene anyway, but they would just give us The Den on every other Sunday to come and just use. So it's small, it's quite dedicated. There's something really cool that happens every year in Calcutta for another friend of mine, and he's kind of been the power of the underground, the powerhouse of the underground synth community here by doing something called SimFarm. So he has a little farm set up outside Calcutta. Very limited number of people. I think you can take a maximum of 20 people in the house, and then it's like all the guys sleeping on the floor in one room on mattresses, and all the girls sleeping in the other room on mattresses, because there's just 2 rooms, and we have to get sleeping bags and divided between us. But it's amazing because it's 3 days of just synthing out. So there's no other distractions. There's nothing else that you do. You just make music, do presentations, teach synth skills, I guess, like explain stuff. I did help with I helped a little bit by creating a PCB for the Atari Punk console, and did a couple of first-time DIY sessions there with these guys, and it was great actually. But it's really important to say, it's smaller than small in a way. It's a very small part of the musician community, but it's growing in interest, I think. A lot of musicians will start adopting hardware synthesizers, but they won't form part of a community, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. One question, like, why did you decided to end up designing like musical instruments instead of staying on the medical side, like engineering?
I asked myself that question many times.
Okay.
I think the most important reason actually is very simple, is that pretty much after I finished my degree studies and actually got my degree, I made the decision to come back to India because my dad wanted some help with work over here because it was getting too much for him to handle. So I just left. Now, the thing about being an engineer is that you need to be constantly pushing your skills and sharpening them. And once you've been out of a field like medical engineering for about 5 or 10 years, you are obsolete in terms of your knowledge. And the other thing is, at that time, as soon as I came back, I never really wanted to get into musical instruments. I didn't see any of this coming. I didn't see any. It wasn't planned or anything. It was I wanted to build a few pedals for myself. That's it. And I had a few parts, and I built a few pedals. And my thing at that time was I used to etch the pedals with acid, and so they have these really sexy finishes. They looked really good and very. It got a lot of attention over here because I'd also been kind of. I'd been trying to join a band, exactly. So when I moved back from Germany, I auditioned for. I tried to audition for a band. Have you heard me play music?
I did see you playing techno live at Schneider's Lantern when you were doing the workshop there, and it was
sorry.
It is no, it was awesome, man. Like you from scratch, it was pretty banging actually. Yeah, I really liked it.
Okay,
but I never.
I wasn't so
or anything.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. So I auditioned on bass for a friend of mine who I became friends with, and he was quite direct in saying that, you're a terrible musician. I don't think you know how to play the bass before this. He said, "Have you actually?" He actually asked me during the audition. I said, "Have you ever played bass before?" I said, "No, but I have a bass," and that's why I auditioned, and it was true.
That's what you need, right?
Yeah, he said you got a great sound with all the pedals and everything. So don't get me wrong, but dude, you can't play. At some point, he said, "Listen, I'm just going to be straight with you. You're not going to be in the band, but I think you're damn. I think you're cool, and I'd like to hang out if you're cool with that." I said, "Yeah, that's fine, man."
We're in the band, but we're your friends.
Yeah, but this guy is actually, he's been around. So he was playing. He's, I think, a year older than me, maybe even less, around my age anyway. But he was like playing shows in Bombay when I was attending shows in Bombay, and so I had no idea that he used to be part of the band that I'd seen play a bunch of times and everything. When I was 15, 16, 17, etc. And he knew musicians. I think it was also just the time when I started building stuff, and I showed it around to the few people who I met, and I said, "Hey, that looks amazing." And they were fairly simple pulse circuits as well, but they had a sound, So it kind of happened very organically, because then people started coming to me, not for pedals first, but for tube amplifiers, because I was actually building tube amps for myself. because I wanted tube amplifiers for guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I learned the entire process of importing shit into India and how expensive it is and just how crazy it is. But if you can handle tube amp imports in India, you can handle pretty much anything, I think. Because just like trying to build that stuff and getting parts from like I don't think I was buying parts from China at that point, but parts from the US and everything. It really tests your nerves. So I built a tube amp for one person, and then somebody else came, and then word of the pedals got around, and then people started. They wanted a couple of pedals, and I started doing some custom work. And then I realized I just hated doing custom work because it was. I made the experience with a couple of people who I think I felt they may have believed that if you buy the product, you also buy the artist.
Yeah.
So I was kind of on their time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't want to go down that road either because it put me in a very weird place. I said, do I really want to build? Do I really want to do this custom work, repair nonsense, or do I want to actually build something around this?
Yeah.
And so that's how it happened. I mean, there was no plan for it to happen. It just kind of happened organically. I enjoyed it, then I hated it. And then I said, I kind of enjoy this part of it. So let's not do that part. And that's how the factory happened. I said, let's build product. And since then I've been super just very clear that sorry, I don't do repairs, I don't do modifications, and I don't do custom work. It's that simple.
Yeah. I mean, I had this from other friends that they also started, like doing repairs or building custom stuff for other people, and at the end, like person grows and like the big business grows too, and you just have to separate and say no to other stuff. But I mean, I'm glad that at the end, like what it has to happen is what it means to happen. It will happen anyway. So, and for how long have you been with the company already?
How long have I been with the company? The company has had me for 7 years, I think.
Okay. 7 years. The other way around.
Yeah. It's. I'll say this. I think you can do custom work in a place where you have easier access. So let's say you don't have to go and buy 100 enclosures, or you don't have to buy switchcraft sockets in bulk. Where you can actually just make a small mouser order and or something, and you just buy a few parts and say, okay, this is fine. But if you're doing it in India, it's just not worth it. Or any place that's difficult import restrictions and expensive customs duties. So just to clarify that, I'm not against custom work in general.
No.
It doesn't make sense to do it in some places.
To yourself, yeah.
So,
Thanks God for the good repair people. Like I'm one of them. So we have a few questions here from a few people. You guys, like I'm always saying, you feel free to just jump in and send your question, and I'll make sure it will be answered. So there is two people here. Who are your biggest supporters? Those are two people that are asking the same question.
Who are my biggest supporters?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't understand, I will appreciate that maybe you guys can explain this a little bit better.
Yeah, please elaborate. I mean, because that's a very broad question. As in specific people, specific artists, or specific kinds of musicians, or
just if you guys can just send a specific question for that. And there is another question that is asking if you do all the graphic design yourself because it's so good.
Oh, absolutely not. I do not do all the graphic design myself. I tried that very early, and I decided that I was terrible at it. I have always used different artists initially, but as of right now, my design work, I think if you've seen the new stuff, which is the line-based stuff, is done by um, this friend of mine and incredible visual artist named Anirudh Mehta. He goes by the Big Fat Minimalist on Instagram. Definitely check his work out. Actually, it's a great thing we have going on because we share an office, so we divide the office between ourselves. And he's done work for a couple of Netflix shows. Work for the Gates Foundation recently. He's been doing incredible work. So just definitely go and check him out. So I'll share that.
Send me the info about him, and I'll add it to the comments here. Okay.
Oh, I think it's just Big Fat Minimalist. Sorry, that's
just Big Fat Minimalist, right?
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
Okay.
So yeah,
I got an answer for the other question. Your biggest fans, big supporters that have pushed you through on this journey.
I think it started really early with David Torn. I think he was the first one actually. So he was the very first one who pushed my stuff, and I literally didn't have a single sale actually. My local supporters, I'd say this friend of mine who I auditioned for, who told me I sucked playing bass. So he's been there since day -10, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
There's somebody in Lansing, Michigan, who has bought everything I've ever built. So I've been very, very lucky that I have this small but extremely dedicated group of American customers as well, who just lop up everything that I've designed, and it's always great chatting with them. They're all super understanding, and if I'm having delays like right now because COVID pushed back the production of my new module by about 6 months, and they were like, "Yeah, chill, it's fine." I don't get it. Do you want me to name names of specific people?
No, I mean, I think it's all right. I mean, if you can keep sending more questions, like if you want more specific, but yeah, I guess
Berlin, the amazing drummer from Berlin named Merlin Ettore, actually, he opened an entire world of support for me, as well as Alexander Hacke from Eichstätt in the Neubauten. But Merlin actually was, I don't know, I kind of have a feeling that somewhere over there, what I didn't anticipate is that how big Gaudita was designed for bass guitar. I didn't see how big it would be with techno musicians, or maybe I did, I don't know. But I feel like it was after Merlin got his hands on it that people in Berlin were asking for the Gaudita everywhere, and
that's why you reached the Eurorack, right?
Sorry?
That's one where you decided to do the module, the Eurorack module.
That came later, much later.
Okay.
The most painful product I've ever done.
Okay.
Like, God, it was too much.
But it's nasty, man. It's so nasty. That is perfect for techno and industrial music.
Yeah, thank you. That's kind of where I was going, but it was just like, so the thing about taking analog distortion pedal and then putting it in module format without changing the sound of the pedal, because then people say, okay, the module doesn't sound exactly like the pedal.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was Joey Blush Response who brought it to my attention that the module and the pedal sound really different. They're just 3 volts of difference, not the Gaudita, but the Baron sound they use. So there are just the 3 volts in the distortion circuit makes all the difference in the world for some reason. So, yeah.
Well, that's good that you have also that interaction with your, like customers, artists.
I
That
try to, because I've had, I'm actually really lucky because I have this one, like, I don't know, I have a dedicated core group of supporters who've just kind of been there from way back, and um, they push my stuff, they tag my stuff, they posted without me asking them to. So I'm very social media. Well, like, I hate social media. Um, but they're somehow they kind of make it happen for me. So I'm usually always checking back and forth with them to say, hey, if I did a new version of this, what do you think I should do? So
that's really
yeah.
cool. There is another question that is asking, yeah, and that's right. I didn't think about this. What is the standalone synth that you showed a prototype of at NAMM to Sonic State? It is still under development.
It's under improvement.
Okay.
That's I rolled back on some things and I put in some new ones, and I think it's going to be. It was going to be at Super Bowl this year,
Oh,
and I was very very excited about it. But then the world stopped turning for some time, and I decided not to put the money into the production, and or even I just paused on that for right now and went back to the stuff that was actually wanted at this point. I think I don't want to say too much about it yet, but you're asking about the synth that I showed to Sonic State in 2017 at Super Booth 2017 and 2018, if I'm not wrong.
I think I saw that at Super Booth. Probably he saw it at NAM. I don't know if you were at NAM and you showed it there.
It was
but
the synth was not a NAM.
Okay.
The synth thing was not a NAM.
Was Super
I'll
Booth.
say this much. I didn't like what I had built, so I built something I like better.
But that's awesome, dude. Like that's how it should be done, like feel confident enough to say, stop here and I'm gonna remake again instead of just like keep, like pushing. I think that's one of the things.
I'll go. Okay, I can be a little more detailed than that. So that the first synth, I might just release that as a project because it was so simple, and I have no more use for it. The only thing is I documented it so badly that I'll have to just publish the PCB without the schematic, and yeah, because it's a mess. I'll have to maybe just put like bits of schematic together to put it back.
So you would do it DIY?
I guess, but I would not support. I just put a PCB out there, so if people want to build it themselves, they can do that. That synth had a few problems, and the problems were that it had a four-step sequencer, which was analog. It had a non-tracking dual VCO, so neither of the VCOs would track anything. And I think somebody I showed it to locally in India, who runs distribution, so he distributes Moog and other things. Eventide, Dynaudio. He says, you've got a really cool project. This is not a product, because at this point, what you're offering, there are better things on the market that are easier to use at the same price point. So you have to decide, do you want to do a project or a product? And I thought about it, and I said, this kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So I went back to the drawing board and I completely threw some stuff out. I said, let's not do the easy stuff. Let's make it a little harder, because even a little harder is not that hard.
Yeah, I see.
So that's all I'll say about that for now. And hopefully, if this coronavirus leaves us alone, it should be at, I don't think NAMM, but I think I'll do a Super Booth release. I was really, really hoping to do it this year, and I had some good stuff planned for it, but so such is life. It gives me a little more time to make it better. So I'm sorry I can't answer that question, or I won't answer that question in full detail. But please look out for next. It's going to be exciting. Hello.
Yeah, I think it was breaking a little bit. Just 1 second. I don't know if you guys had the same, but I think I got the full message. I mean, well, thank you for the little information anyway that you that you gave us. Because I remember that I actually saw that too at Super Booth, and it was it was 2617 actually. Yeah. Was when when we met actually, that you were there in the corner. Like yeah.
I was dying with your infection.
Yeah, man, I remember that.
I was so sick. Oh god, yeah, I was so sick.
Nothing better than being at Super Booth time.
I couldn't even do any after shows because I said the only thing I want right now is I want my ear to be quiet,
Yeah. Yeah.
No more people, etc. Yeah.
Well, guys, just keep asking questions. What are you drinking though? Whiskey.
Whiskey.
Well, cheers to that then. Cheers, everyone, guys, if you're drinking at home.
It's kind of like my fortnightly drink, so I'm not big on alcohol. It's just like this one drink I have every week or 2 weeks, I guess. Well, I'm also really old, so I can't handle it anymore.
What are you talking about? Okay.
Maybe actually, that's not true at all, because I was going to say maybe it's my Indian genetics, but the statistics show that Indians drink a lot of whiskey. So.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's crazy. So we have a huge consumption. In fact, I think if you go to Bombay duty free, it's one of the cheapest places that you can buy something like Johnny Walker or something. They'll have like deals with 18 euros a bottle if you buy 4. Yeah, it's
all right. That's all right. That's good. I didn't know about that. That's good to know. I'm actually shocked.
I think it's a colonial leftover of some sort.
Yeah.
We just like we saw the English drinking whiskey, so we made it our thing as well. But yeah, Indians drink a lot of whiskey.
I see. Yeah. Well, that is another proper question related to what we're talking about. Like, if it's not alcohol, are you a stoner?
Am I a stoner? No, I'm not a stoner at all, actually.
You don't have to reply, but it's a really good question.
No, I'm not a stoner at all, actually. I have nothing against it. I just don't think that I would. I don't think I'm very functional. If I got stoned, I think it'd be just it's like watching grass grow, I guess.
Okay, there is another question for you. Can you talk about the Pocket Synth?
Yeah, of course. The Pocket Synth is, and the schematics and PCB files and everything is up for download on my website. So just like take it and do whatever you want with it. It's not protected in any way. The Pocket Synth is very simply if you know what the Atari Punk console is?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the most basic synthesizer circuits. Mm-hmm. It's based off 2 555 timers, which is one of the oldest integrated circuits that has a full function in it. So basically, they were basically timer circuits. What they're doing is one of them is acting as an oscillator, while the other one is retriggering. So it creates some crazy sounds, all square wave. Mm-hmm. And my Pocket Synth is not different in terms of the circuitry, but what I did, my objective for the Pocket Synth was simply this. Varun from SimFarm asked me if I could help do the DIY session with him. And I said, the one thing that's always problematic for people who have no idea about any of this stuff like people who've never seen circuits before, people who don't know how to use breadboards. The hardest thing is when you start doing stuff on breadboard, because there's too many variables, and just it's not like, I find it hard to debug sometimes, and sometimes it's just a bad track or a bad connection, a loose wire. It's extremely dissatisfying. The same is for perfboard. So those are two things I hate, believe it or not. I hate breadboarding and I hate perfboard. If I'm confident enough, I go straight to PCB. I just cut out that entire process of my life and I just go straight to PCB if I'm confident enough. If I'm not, then yeah, I do the hard work, but I don't enjoy it. So I said, what I can do is, let's just take the circuit, take the focus-in circuit, and I'll lay it out on a PCB that would be ideal for somebody who's never had a soldering iron in their life, like held an iron in their life before. So they can just
like a project.
Yeah, like a first project with a lot of space between the parts, just like easy to bend, easy to assemble, and it has one of everything. So there's a trim pot, there's potentiometers, there's jacks, there's an integrated circuit, there's a transistor, there's a diode, there's resistors, and there's capacitors.
You can learn how to solder everything, right? Nice.
Yeah, like you learn how to identify everything, and the chances of you getting a functional project at the end of it are very high. I did, of course, go and make it complicated one year by adding an LPG, but not only was that extremely problematic because it wouldn't work sometimes, but it also increased the build time by about 2 hours per person. So we scrapped that. We went back to the basics. So that's the focus in. It's not complicated. It's just designed for first-time use. If you ever want to, I might even have some boards. If you're happy to pay postage, I can send you a board.
Okay, I think I found on the SimFarm website one of
that's the one.
One of the pictures. I'm gonna just show it very quickly.
Sure.
Let's see. This one, is it this one?
Yeah, that's the complicated version.
Oh, okay.
That is the XL version with there's a low pass gate type thing in there. So that didn't work very well, unfortunately, but because we were looking for plus 9 volt supply, and then that just led to also severe LED problems. But yeah, there's another one. I don't know if I can find. It's probably there somewhere on the site as well, or in the videos. There's a lot of really cool videos that the people made of using their poker synths, and they made a poker synth orchestra.
Oh, really? That's so cool.
Yeah. And there's probably a really embarrassing. I don't know. I've never seen that video, or if that video was uploaded. There's a terrible video of me suddenly realizing I had to demonstrate the poker synths in use, and I tried to make some sort of weird quad DQ and oscillator thing. It was strange. Nobody knows what I'm doing. No, it's a great project, and I still think I felt it was too simple initially, but then Varun was like, just trust me, this is what people need to start with. And I think he was absolutely right.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's a really important thing that, and I've seen that many times, like people actually get frustrated when they build something and it doesn't work. And that is literally a good big percentage of the people who start soldering. Like mostly everybody solders something or build something in the first place, and it just doesn't work.
It didn't work. Yeah. And that's what we wanted to avoid, in fact. I mean, it was interesting because the first time that they did the poker synth, that I did the poker synth boards, Matt Black was at SimFarm. And Matt Black and his wife built a poker synth, and it worked. And she had never built anything before. I think he probably has, but she had never soldered before. And she said, "Oh, this is great. It just turns on. It makes sounds. It has a light." So just that it had 100%. In fact, yeah, it had 100% success rate the first time around.
That is
The second time, yeah, the second time around it dropped. That was the year that I was there, but I also made the large board, which caused a lot of issues. So the next year we went back to the old one, and it was good. So I didn't want to have them to have the same experiences that I've had, like just trying to debug stuff and make it work and what's gone wrong, and just see if they can do it, and also maybe then teach other people to do it. More importantly, so
yeah.
it was a fun project. I liked it.
Apart from the, like one of the things that I like mainly, and it also kind of gives you the chance when you have a small company, is when you're developing a product and then you get to the point when you have to decide if continuing or not, whether it's like prototyping a breadboard or just having an idea. Have you ever had like a product that you designed but we never heard or saw before, like from you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's been a lot of developments that I've just stopped because I didn't like them. I didn't see them going anywhere. I thought they were strong conceptually, but just kind of pointless in the execution. And it's been a thing with Animal Factory to do things very slowly, I guess. So I'm not releasing new products every year. I try to be a little more quiet about what I'm building. So there might be a lot going on, but you're not going to know about it. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. I guess I personally feel that you need to kind of establish some sort of stability and not keep jumping your users all the time. Here, take this. Here's something new for your head. Here's an upgrade. And even if you're doing the upgrades, maybe make them quiet and make them under the hood, so that people don't really. It doesn't have to be something you beat on a drum, but it's kind of there, and it improves the product without really becoming a thing, I guess. The projects that I've discarded, some of them came back. So God Eater actually was a discarded product.
All right.
Believe it or not.
All right.
Some of them come back. Some of them they go on ice for years. And God Eater was a fuzz that I developed that was way too bassy. It had too much bass and it had no definition. So I put it aside for years. Sorry?
Is that really a problem?
Yeah, I mean, it was because it was at the time it was. So I said, okay, there's a couple of issues with this thing. It's not kind of party, but it's got this huge low end. It's completely unusable.
Oh, okay.
And it had no clarity or anything. So it went on the shelf, and I still have that original piece. It's a double-sided PCB that I etched and built myself, and it's got these long potentiometers on it and everything.
So cool.
And then I said, hey, it kind of happened that I was jamming with a friend, and I was playing bass, and he was playing not the same. This guy was more tolerant, or maybe I'd improved as a bass player. I don't know. But I was playing bass, and he was playing drums, and it was just two of us. And I wanted to get this really big kind of like doomy post-rock. I don't know, some sort of weird like riff rock on acid kind of sound. And I said we kind of need to go clean bass. And actually, no, I wanted a guitar-ish bass, kind of a Royal Blood thing maybe, but then also have my bass distorted all the time without losing the low end.
I see.
So I said, I need a fuzz that does this. This has a lot of big low end. And I said, what happened to that weird circuit I built like 3 years ago? And I said, let's look at it again. And then I said, okay, let's make these changes here and here and here. And that's how Body came about. But the stuff that I've discarded and never done anything with, a dual Korg MS-20 filter, because the world does not need another one.
Yeah.
There was this one idea that I'm not quite done with yet, but it just it was kind of like just a bunch of like it was a bunch of oscillators really controlled by LDRs, like light dependent resistors. And if you wave your hand in front of it or you flash a light, then you make the sounds change. But it was I thought it was sorry.
It didn't convince you.
No, I said it's just too random, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something you can control or tune or anything, and it's I didn't enjoy playing it, so I said this is out. What else? A whole. I think I have entire folders of stuff that's just been put on ice, basically. Stuff that I thought was going nowhere. Stuff that I developed but never got into production. Two of my first pedals, in fact, never made it to production, and I can't wait to put them into production. But they've got to be better products. Yeah, one of them actually got. I sold a whole bunch of them. Well, not a whole bunch. I sold 5 of them or 10 as etched editions.
Mm-hmm.
Very beautiful pedals, really, really beautiful. And there was one that actually really strangely somebody mailed me about it for a magazine a couple of months ago, asking me what the history of this pedal, because is this really the only one? I said, yeah, this is the only one.
Wow.
And,
So there are actually very like limited edition pedals from you.
it was a prototype that I took to NAM, and when I was at NAM, I met a couple of people who really liked it, but then I hated it because it didn't cut through. So it was very muddy. It got lost in the mix, basically. And the only 2 people I learned, the only person I saw playing it properly was Devin Townsend. And like, you're Devin Townsend. I mean, you know what you know what to do clearly. And he really liked it. And I said, when I'm ready to go into production, I'll send you one so you can demo it. And I never put into production, and I had it lying around for years. And I think it spent a couple of years just with me collecting dust. And at some point, Devin Townsend came to Bombay last year. And I said, hey, listen, Devin, I don't know if you remember me. We met like 4 years ago. And if you want this pedal, you can have it because you're obviously the only person who knows how to use it. So he has one, and David Torn has one. But David Torn has a special personalized edition because I'm a huge fan. I'm a massive, massive fan. And this went out with the first chemical burn. And that's how Animal Factory started, because David Torn got a chemical burn from me. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it was just crazy. I messaged her, said, listen, either way, I don't know if it's okay or not, but I just started building pedals, and I'd like to send you my first product if you'd like to try it out. I said, yeah, sure, of course, I'll do a demo and everything. I'm like, you'll do a demo? Okay. So yeah, and that's how it started. So Claustrophobia and Ozymandias never made it into proper production. Very limited editions floating around there in the world. And if they go back into production, they will not be etched because I stopped doing that. I think I will most definitely not be doing a dual Korg MS-20 module.
For sure.
That's not happening. I think that's about it. And then there was all just like other stuff that I built. I don't know, design blocks, I guess, that have found their place in different modules that I make. So yeah.
Where does the name come from? Because I'm pretty
Animal
sure.
Factory.
Yeah.
So go back to 2013 or 2012, I think 2012, 2013. I'm having a conversation with that friend of mine who I auditioned for on bass. So before I keep saying this friend of mine who I auditioned for on bass, his name is Siddharth Basrur. He's an incredible singer and guitar player. Sid Basrur, look him up. He is an unbelievable singer, guitarist, composer as well. And I was thinking about, what I was gonna do with this pedal thing I started, and I was very frustrated looking for names because initially I wanted the name Mad Dog Amplification, and all the pedals would have a dog theme or something. And then I felt, this feels kind of weird for some reason, and I realized why. I said, because they're snarling dogs, and they already have the dog theme going on. I don't know. Have you heard of snarling dogs?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so snarling dogs, they make these wah pedals, and all the wah pedals are shaped like dog's faces, and there's like the dog's eyes light up. And
I think I remember now. Yeah.
Yeah, really. Just like they only made those pedals, I think, and very culty, I guess. I said, shit, I can't do Mad Dog, that's too close. And then one day my friend was talking about how I should build like a mild overdrive or something, and I'm just like, no, I don't want to build a mild overdrive, man. I want to build some substitute like other pedals. I want to build beasts, and that's when it clicked. I said, Animal Factory, because there was the look was already there. The look was very cold, polished or dull aluminum and like black finish on it. So it was very industrial, just from the get-go. I don't have any pictures, otherwise I'd show you something. Or can I actually put pictures in? I don't know.
You can send it to me if you want, and I can just if you can do a I can actually share it.
Yeah, so I could probably look up an example of what they look like in a bit, but there was so that's where the name came. I want to build I want to build beasts. But
Mad Dog is a good name for a product, though. Like a really beastie, whatever.
Yeah, it was cool.
It's a really good name for a module, though.
It was great. I mean, it actually Mad Dog Effects was it was just like super stripped down, super nasty. All of the knobs had been like rabies, distemper and stuff. So it was very clear on which direction I was going. But then I said, okay, that's too gimmicky. Let's not go down that gimmick road. And also Snarling Dogs is already it's been there. They've done that. So let's not.
Well, that's
It has nothing to do with Animal Farm by George Orwell. And I later realized that there's a movie called Animal Factory, which has Edward Furlong, the kid from Terminator 2 and American History X. So
it's all connected.
It's all connected.
So all linked.
Wow, we're back in Joe Rogan territory. It's all connected, like Brittany said on her Instagram recently.
You can say that Britney Spears is your biggest supporter.
Britney Spears she's been good to me. Yeah. I recently read about this thing. Oh my god, it was horrible. I read about the Free Britney movement. That was very upsetting, actually.
That is
do you know about this?
It looks like it's a real. It's like a real thing. Yeah, actually, I've seen like very different people posting like very serious posts about her situation, like free Britney and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's horrible. That's really sad.
Yeah.
Um,
If you guys
I have
wonder
a friend who is
what we actually talk
sorry.
about, like I'm just saying to the people who are watching, like if you guys wonder what we actually
What
talk
we actually talk about. This is what we actually talk about.
this
We
is
talk about this on bad television.
we talk about Britney Spears and Borat mainly.
Yeah, it's amazing that humor has actually stuck so many years. Yeah, Britney Spears and Borat and bad shows on Netflix,
Yeah,
um,
bad everything.
like the Alien Matrimony one. I can't believe you heard of that thing. It's crazy how we're all over the world with our pop culture now. Maybe it's time though.
Yeah, actually, that for those like you don't know that today he sent me this Netflix series that I don't remember, the Matchmaker or something like that. I think it's called.
Oh God,
And
it's the worst.
yes, and I started watching it for 15 minutes and I had to stop it. I couldn't. I don't know if I was crying a lot or crying of laugh, out laughter, like I don't know if it was really good or really bad, but
It was
yeah,
terrible.
yeah,
I kind of laughed in the beginning because I'm the kind of guy who enjoys
but
just like very humor, like say Curb Your Enthusiasm or um, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where you just have horrible people. I said, okay, this is one of those shows, and I realized at some point that they were just genuinely uh, just not something I'd want to encounter. I guess I don't know. It was just really bizarre, and the
guys,
kind
if
of
you please.
the weirdest part is that if you've grown up in India and if you've seen this around you, all of it is true. It's so all of a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us have experienced these things to some level, not quite like on the show, because I think some of the people who are shown on the show are very clearly extremely wealthy.
Yeah, I saw that.
But and that adds an entire other dimension to it. Um, but yeah, I mean, the arranged marriage and all the tension, heartache, heartbreak, blood pressure, uh, jewelry, and all of that around it is very real. Do not doubt it for a second. But yeah,
I'm really glad I let you all know before this chat that we will be talking about this. But yeah, it's actually insane. Did you find the picture?
yes, I just sent you an email.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, guys, again, like feel free. I hope you're having fun, like we're all having here. Feel free to like send in your questions and like anything that you just or comments that you just wanna say to Adi. My next question is actually related to why did you decided to go for analog instead of digital?
so far.
Okay. Okay, that was easy.
Really simple. I just don't know. I don't know how to.
Code.
I don't know how to program, so I just ruled everything down. Oops.
Oh wow. I'm just sorry for that.
Can
I'm just
you hear me?
one. I'm not sure though if you guys are actually seeing and listening us correctly because I'm having a bit of delay here. And but well, if there is no comments, then we just keep going. Can you see me and listen to me, Adi? Okay, I think we have lost the connection for 1 second. So in the meantime, what I'm actually gonna do is make use of, like, I'm gonna show you guys the link that he sent me with the Baron Samedi with the full demo, and then, well, hopefully he will be back. Well, are you back now? I was just about to show them a bit of the demo.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then we keep talking just a little bit.
Hi, this is Aditya from Animal Factory Amplification, and this is the Baron Samedi. The Baron Samedi captures and celebrates various traits of fuzz that we love, from crackly, staticky AM radio sounds, to more traditional vintage fuzz sounds, to a monstrous sub-octave that can be dialed in to self-oscillate. This is the pedal for people who love to experiment with their tone.
All right. That was
Okay. Am I back?
You're back. Welcome again.
Sorry, I think I'm having internet problems.
It's fine. It's, life happens. It's things from like live streaming. So basically you are the one man doing everything, like from designing, prototyping, running the production, I guess, and doing the shipping and everything. So how do you deal with all of that amount of work?
Coffee. Lots of coffee. I actually am not. I have one more person helping me now. I have a young musician actually who was just like very interested in what I do, and definitely had a bit of an aptitude for it. And when I met him, he had an interest in the work that I was doing, and also a bit in the fun aspect of it. But what I liked was that I asked him if he knew about synthesizers, and he didn't know much. I said, that's perfect. That's actually really good, because the last thing I wanted somebody to think that all I do in here is just press knobs and press buttons and turn knobs, because that's what many people think it is. No, but David is pretty much on board with me. I probably will announce it soon with a nice photo saying, hey, this is Animal Factory, blah, blah, blah. He's been helping me for a few months, just like on an internship basis, basically. What I do is, how do I take care of the workload? It's kind of forced me to be a lot more efficient with how I do things, I guess. It comes at a cost, obviously, and that cost for me is the product range. So I don't have a huge portfolio of products, but I just try to stick to the things that I do well, which in this case is distortion. And it's not a bad thing, because it kind of allows me to focus very, very clinically on what people like and what they would like more if I was doing this. I don't do all the soldering myself, obviously, because I moved to S&D processes, and I have somebody who does the S&D process for me. I think the only thing that takes a lot of time, which is really painful, is the testing, and there's no real way around that. But I guess like David's also picked up over there, so he's been testing. He's figured out the testing process. I get help if I need assembly. So everything is done sort of by me, but I'm not like doing everything by hand anymore myself.
I'm saying that because I I mean, in our community, which is like kind of like DIY slash Eurorack community, it is like most all of us are actually freelancers, and like companies are like really small teams. So
Yeah.
like there's this big difference between like the Eurorack companies that is like jumping into Ableton and Korg that are corporations, for example. So I heard many times like, no, it's actually impossible. You can't do such a, like good product or like running the company with just one man doing the entire operation. But from what I know from the Europa companies, actually can be done. Not in like a super big scale, of course, because one person is just human. We're all humans. But what would it be your advice to someone who actually wants to get into designing their own modules, pedals, whatever it is, and they don't know how to start with? And coming from someone like you, it would be. I mean, yeah. What would it be your advice for someone who wants to begin in this market industry?
I think so. A few things to realize is that the market that you're in is, if you have to look at it from a business perspective, it's luxury goods. You're not doing something that is an essential commodity, and you have to be very clear about these things because the way you have to think about your demand is very different than, say, somebody who's making sound cards. If you're not making, you're not in the same space as M Audio and Focusrite and all of that. So I think first, that's not advice, but this is the basic underlying structure on which everything else I would say will build. Be very honest with yourself about what you have to offer as well. So it needs to be something that can stand on its own, and it's very possible for all of us to have good ideas, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't pick up with people, that's your sign. And just like get opinion very early, because one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to go down a road of manufacturing a lot of stuff, investing a lot of money, and then realizing that you can't sell it later.
Yeah.
There's other ways to do this, but I chose not to do them. I don't do any crowdsourcing, for example. I find it's just like a huge administrative task in one sense, and the other thing is then you're also responsible to many more people than to just one person, or just one person is paying for it. So yeah, look at choosing your business model. But the most important thing to remember is, I think this is very much still a manufacturing business, and you have to kind of accept all the realities. Like, it's nice, it's fun, it's sexy because you're doing music equipment and synthesizers. But the actual work is still, it still follows a very old traditional structure. Pay money, buy parts, keep parts, build things, keep things, sell things. And this is something you got to be very good with, especially if you're starting out, because it's super easy to mistime, think you're going to make completely overestimate how much you're going to make and sell, basically.
Yep.
Happened to me in the beginning as well. You have to admit. Chemical burn is, I produced, I think, 4 times more than I was selling in a year, I guess. And yeah, I think that's you have to be very grounded, I guess, and it's easy to get caught up in the whole euphoria of it. It's easy to think that you're doing something that's really different, but I think there's a certain like humility that you got to keep when you're doing something like this.
Yeah.
Just test the waters. if you got a cool product but you're not sure about it, be a little less profitable in the beginning and make less of him. See how they catch on and then move on. Just, I don't know, try to be organic and
I mean, organic
yeah,
growth is really good advice, because mostly nowadays we're not used to organic growth in absolutely nothing, from food to our industry. Like every year we have every super booth and every NAM, which happens twice. There are major events that happen twice a year. We know we will find all these brands releasing something for sure.
Yeah. And it's not necessary. Like the thing is, initially I even thought that it was really necessary to bring out an entire range of products at one shot. You have to be very mindful about how much you can do actually as one person. So if you're just one person doing this on your own, and let's say you have another job, which is also very much the case in our industry. Like I know that a lot of people in the modular world have a day job, and then on the weekends you're doing other things. Yep. A lot of great modular companies started that way. So I like to think about Erica a lot, because Erica regularly does, every year they bring out a whole new range of products. But when you start out, you're not Erica, and you don't have the team that Erica has built up over time. When you start out, you're somebody with a very limited resource set of resources, both in time, probably in money. And actually, like I think if for somebody who's trying to get into this, I think the one thing that I cannot emphasize enough is building a product, creating a product is really simple, but making it sustain and selling it and just, taking it and building something around it, that's the real work. I mean, you have to be also very okay with doing all the stuff you hate doing, and really hate doing, to do that, like 1 hour of the thing that you love. So just but my life is mostly Excel. So people don't believe that. They think Animal Factory is like some magical place where you can like make distortion sounds all day and all.
Yeah, by a touch. Yeah.
Yeah, it's it can work very well, but just kind of see it for what it is and maybe try to push it a little more. But don't overreach unnecessarily, because it's really not necessary.
Yeah, I think that shorter goals are better in the long run. Like making sure that you walk in one little step a day, for example, is much better than having bigger dreams that you actually never not achieve because of like you were focused on the future instead of like how to make it work in the present.
It will also come back very badly on you. Let's say you actually have something that's successful, and say you decide to create an entire product range. But in fact, when I started working with my distributors in Berlin, they said, slow down, because you've just started doing this.
Yeah.
Learn the process. The process is not what you think it is. So if you're going to go for like 7 products or something, that's cool. But do them over 7 months or 7 years, because what you think is going to happen is not going to happen the way you think it is. That's when you get hit really hard by things that I'm still figuring out today, like stuff like inventory management, how much do you purchase when, how to control multiple vendors, what do you do if you have a quality issue? It's definitely, just set high standards, but then just stay in that process about achieving them, rather than going for this wide spread of things that that may not work out very well. So, yeah.
Well, that's a really good advice though, like, because It's not the first time. And as you say, in our industry, there is also a lot of people who have their day jobs and then they do this for passion, literally, just for love of music and electronics. So whoever wants to get into this, yeah, a lot of patience and open mind to learn things every day, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Be ready. Be open to do things that you don't want to do, I guess, and
Yeah.
just make sure that you have. Um, it's not going to be incredibly financially rewarding, at least not in the beginning. It's not going to be something that is. Somebody, in fact, when I started Animal Factory, the guy I built my first tube amp for, he gave me this very important piece of advice. He said, Aditya, the audio world has created many millionaires out of billionaires than the other way around. So just be careful.
Yep, that's right.
Don't assume that because you build it that they will come.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. That's so right. um, my next question is actually regarding to Eurorack. When did you decide to go for designing Eurorack modules and why?
I actually designed. I was very lucky to meet the Alex Ford team in Berlin with my pedals when I was just visiting there, and I was introduced to them by um, Douglas McCarthy from Mr. Ebb. And they saw my pedals, they tested them out, and they said, this is all really nice, but we'll be very straight with you. We are primarily a modular distribution company. So is there any chance, do you have any plans for building these pedals in your rack format? I said, I do now. So, okay, let's do it. And just mind you, at this time, I didn't have, I had no idea what your rack, I knew what it was, but it's something I never had access to because there wasn't a thing in India either. And I went to Schneider's Lot and I played with some rack modules, and I played with some of it on a software basis, I guess. So my introduction to modular synthesis was actually reading the software, because I found that if you hit the tab key, you can flip the rack over and you see the CV routing, and then I started.
And you can wire.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it. That was my introduction to modular synthesis. No joke. I actually, in the time that people don't believe me, but when I had designed my first Eurorack modules, which was basically the Baron Samdi and the Pitch Viper, in Euro format, I had exactly 2 Eurorack modules. I didn't even have a power supply or a rack or anything. Yeah. I had and one module was the Dreadbox Hades, so it was just like the full synth, and the other one. Sorry, I just had one. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the only one I had.
All right.
So I didn't have any sound sources or anything. I just I got the Hades kit from Dreadbox, and I built it, and then I started using that as my source. Before that, I was just using a signal generator and an oscilloscope, because it was just like I said, this is crazy. Who does this stuff? This is horribly expensive. Like why would you spend so much money on this?
One module.
Yeah. Famous last words. famous last words. And now look at me.
Man, that is so cool.
Yeah, so I designed first Baron Samdi as a Eurorack module, and it worked out pretty well. And then I did Pitch Viper as well. And the thing is, they had exactly identically the same boards that went into the pedals, with a level shifter and a crossfade, and then I added some C functions to it. So that was then, and I think since then, thankfully, I think my construction has gotten better, because there's no more wiring between modules and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Why did I get into it? Because they asked me to. They said, there's not enough distortion in the Eurorack space.
Got inspired.
Well, that's sad.
Yeah.
So that's sad. That
And
needs to be changed.
that actually made you the first or one of the first Eurorack manufacturers in India, right?
The first.
The first.
The first, yeah. I think so, yeah. There were a couple of others as well. There's Analog Fever in Goa, who does mostly like mutable stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but he has some of his own stuff as well. Very trippy artwork. I really like it. There's Modular Analog. I haven't heard much from them last for a while. I think it's just one of those spaces that never really grew that much in India, to be very honest. I mean, there's a few people who were getting into Eurorack, but it kind of it hits a certain level and then kind of stays there. So I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just the nature of the system itself, or it's just crazy expensive here. Right?
Yeah, I mean it is crazy expensive.
It's crazy expensive anywhere, but here it's even more expensive.
Exactly. Like here it also takes, like a good bank account or a good amount of time to get just one little system. So imagine that is kind of the same. Man, but it's actually really inspiring the way of how you started, and actually it was not even planned. It was not your, like idea that you wanted to follow this, and how actually every step until today has been natural, organic, whether it was like beginning the company or like even doing the Eurorack. Because at the end, like it's not something so simple like having a conversation with the Alex for guys and they ask you about this and you just feel inspired and you just started building Eurorack. So it's not about history. Exactly.
In fact, I think the year that you met me at Supercoach was I didn't have much Eurorack. I just had a lot of pedals. I had mostly pedals. I had a couple of rack modules, and then that plastic synth. That was it. So,
yeah, but it's really cool. I mean, where did you get the inspiration to design the synthesizer? Is because of your personal like your personal musical background, or how do you get to that point that you decided to stay on the like distortion side, which is mostly in the electronic music industry, is mostly targeting techno and industrial people, or noise even, I would say?
Yeah, that happened. That happened completely by accident, because my plan was I was going to make guitar pedals. So I actually, for me, it was all about guitar and bass. I didn't see this happening the way it did. But I knew that you can use distortion on synthesizers, because I did it all the time in either hardware or software. That I would just run everything through a distortion bus if I was making like synthesized drums or something. But initially, so for me it was always, I guess, it was the music that I listened to growing up as well. So I got into heavy metal as a kid. So lots of Metallica, Pantera, classic rock, like I don't know, Deep Purple, some classic metal like Iron Maiden and stuff. A lot of pop music, like synth pop and Britney. But what was big back then, like stuff like Depeche Mode and Erasure, like very synth heavy stuff was just all over MTV when I was growing up. So when I was 9, MTV came to India. When I was 9, India opened up to the world, and we got the. I remember one of the first things I saw on MTV was a movie called The Decline of Western Civilization. And that's,
I have watched that movie.
Yeah, it's about. I think it's a very famous movie about punk culture, if I'm not wrong. I saw it when I was 9 or 10, I think. And so you had all this music that was coming in, and for me it was big because I said, this sounds like a really cool instrument. What is that? And I said, okay, that's actually just guitar, but it's just distorted. I said, I like this distortion thing. Let's find out what this is. And then I think I was 15 or 16, and I found Nine Inch Nails, and that was it. I said, okay, this is what we're going to do with our free time.
So basically, that was the music that you grew up listening to, like very nasty.
Yeah, I mean, whatever I could actually, because like I said, we didn't have a lot of this stuff, and we were always a few years behind. But then when things started like opening up, and you got the internet, and I'd read about them, I'd pick up some magazines from the secondhand guy, and then there was one magazine with a big section on industrial music. I said, oh wow, these people who influenced Nine Inch Nails, and I discovered Skinny Puppy, and I discovered Front 242, Frontline Assembly, Throbbing Gristle, Sticky P, Coil, all of that stuff. And that just opened up a lot of things for me, because I don't think anybody who I knew was listening to any of that stuff. It was just like, it was either my friends who were listening to kind of commercial music or classic rock, and then there were kind of the metalheads who listened to a lot of the thrash metal, death metal, progressive, I guess. But nobody was listening to this stuff, like the really weird avant-garde stuff. Like if I just say Einstürze der Neubauten, they please repeat that again. Not a lot of people in Germany have heard of them, so it's. I always thought that industrial was kind of the space for very nonconformist listeners, I guess, in a way, because it doesn't really fall neatly into anything else.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was kind of that guy who listened to a lot of thrash metal, but I would never buy a Metallica t-shirt. So if that makes sense.
And which was your first piece of hardware, your first synthesizer or drum machine that you had?
So my first pedal, which was actually my first piece of hardware, I guess, was the Small Stone Electro-Harmonics phaser. But my first synthesizer was the Walker Keys, which I bought in 2014 or 2013. It's very recent, 2014, right. I think. Walker Keys, that was the one. Okay. Why did I buy it? Because it was cheap.
Yeah, they did it very well.
Yeah, I love it. I fell in love with the Walker series. I think I have almost all of them, except for the new ones. I don't have the Walker kick yet. And, yeah, but I have the drum, sample, keys, bass. I love the Walker series. I think that is one of the most impressive products I've ever seen in terms of product design in general. Because it not only did you make something that was, I don't know, just like a lovely
cute little box.
Yeah, just very well thought out actually. But I think what Tatsuya did was he kind of revitalized an entire like he actually may have even created an entire category
I mean, there was potential at that time. I remember those years, and everything was getting really expensive. I mean, everything, it was already like, there was no medium. It was medium, but not like low price, like range in terms of like affordable synthesizer, something that you could just buy and it would be not like a toy, like the pocket operators. And the Volca actually, they did that. They filled that empty space in the market. And also, I believe that is a good idea though, because in terms of production, like you and I know, like getting some certificates are really expensive.
Yeah.
And I get as a manufacturer, somehow you once you have passed one of those, it's like, okay, now we're gonna, juice this box and this design and make a line. But making a line doesn't mean that it's gonna be good, though. It just means that you gotta
Yeah.
work really hard to make it work, because if you fail on one product, then that's gonna affect to the coming ones after that. And I've seen that happening many times, especially in the last years. But they actually made it. That's he made like a very stable number of. He started the line very very well. That's what I can say. That's what I actually remember. That for me was also like mind blowing in that sense. Like it was so affordable.
I remember that somebody actually mentioned it to me because I had no interest in buying synthesizers. Like I said, all of this happened after I turned 30. So in my 20s, I would have been a little more senseless with my money, and I would probably swipe the card and just like racked up crazy amounts of credit card debt or something. But then I think after I turned about 30, I said, okay, I'm going to be a lot more judicious on what I spend because not going to buy any more equipment that I don't use and costs a lot of cash.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
then it was because you had like that entire access. So I think the big ones in India that kind of developed over time because if you know the main contribution of India in the electronic music space is obviously Goa trance and very rich history. And I think the two things that kind of became very widespread were the Access virus and the Node. So you had those synths. Then you had like all these DIY projects and all that stuff. So you had the Shruti. But even this was, it was kind of like, in a sense, it was an investment because you'd have to get it from there or build it yourself. And then suddenly the Korg Walker, when that came out, and it was kind of, it blew my mind in a way because I said this has a certain vision to it. It's kind of like really putting it in every man's hands. You don't have to be shelling out. It's almost like an afterthought purchase in some places, I guess. It was still too expensive in India
Yeah.
because we have these 35 to 45% import duties, but it was not bad. It was, and I kind of wish that Korg had marketed it a little better here and maybe done some competitive pricing or something, because I think that was really the synth product that could have just swept things over here if you'd given out, because people wanted them, but they just still felt that. So I don't know. This is something that happens very commonly here, and if you have a friend or a relative who's living in the US, then typically whenever they come to India, and this is maybe also whenever they go back, you send them back with like, oh, this is jam for this one, and this is preserves for that one, and these are all the spices that you need to send to my aunt who lives over there. But when they come back, then you typically ask them. Back in the day, it was Nikes. Now, you'd ask them, can you give me this synthesizer or like this
Computer.
pedal or whatever.
Yeah, it's the same in Brazil. Like people even travel to Europe just to buy them because it costs the same amount of money or even cheaper.
Yeah. So customs is not that worried about people. Like you have a certain limit that you can fly back with.
Yeah.
But there's no limit to what they charge you when you import something. So even if it's like $5, you technically have to pay duties on $5. Now, there's a good chance that they will not bother for $5, but I've heard of people who had to pay duty for CDs.
Oh, you're kidding me?
Yeah, I'm not joking. No, this is it's very real. I think we've topped. We're the number one in the world for corruption in imports, if I'm not wrong. So, I feel like the Korg Walker was a missed chance in India actually, because it would have really it should have been much bigger than it was. I love it. I think it's it was a genius move on the part of Cox and of course who I've never met, but that's great stuff.
Next Super Bowl,
Sorry? Next Super Bowl, yeah.
Next Super Bowl, I guess, yeah. Yeah. If you had a chance, and this is a question I ask everybody because everybody has different dreams. If you had a chance of changing your career, what would you like to do?
Ooh, I have absolutely no idea. I think so. I think that that question has changed a lot during the lockdown as well. I kind of found myself really wanting to be back in medical technologies because I think I really wish I was doing something with a little bit of a larger impact. Do I have to know how to do the things that I want to do, or
No. It's just not dude, just something that you would like to, I don't know, just achieve in your life, basically. Because at the end, something that I used to ask that a lot to everyone that I talk to, because we are all very different and we all are really into synthesizers. But I also know like some other people their dream is also like doing something else. Me, for example, if I ever change the industry, I will go make beer. It's just nothing. And it's not because I'm a pisshead, it's because I really like the manufacturing process. So because of me, I know like other people have, like these ideas. Doesn't have to be something that you know how to do, but I mean, or you don't have to. I don't know.
I think it will be. I don't see myself doing anything except building things. So I still pretty much want to, even if they're not hardware products or anything. I love cooking, and I initially wanted to be a chef, but I realized that I didn't have the patience and discipline that I would need to work in a restaurant. So I never pursued that because I said that's the last thing I want to do with my time. I don't want to be, following a recipe and making the same stuff every day. It'll drive me crazy.
Yeah, it's better to actually follow a manual and build synthesizers. It's another way. Yeah, cooking is the right thing.
I think I don't know. I think so. The couple of things that I've been really excited about. This might sound a little boring, but I've started developing a bit of an interest in data science. Because I think there's lots more that we can
that we can do now.
That we can see.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah. So I think, and it's become really interesting to see how people are solving very complex problems in very innovative ways. Like I don't know. I just read about this right now that analysts. So there's an Indian university which is collaborating with a Norwegian university to do AI recognition of the coughing sound of COVID patients, so that they can eventually maybe diagnose if you have COVID by listening to to coughing spectra and analyzing them through large databases. Sorry?
Yeah, no, right. I didn't know about that. That is very interesting.
It is, yeah. And then when I see like how it doesn't have to just be for how do I sell toilet paper better, or how do I how do I find out somebody's pregnant before they know it or something, just like Target did that time. I don't think it has to be like that at all. I think there's a lot that you can do.
There is a lot of growing space in that field, though, in the data analysis. I was also reading about that.
It's too big, actually. Now the thing is that it's a little confusing because I try to do the basic maths, and I realized that maybe I should have paid a little more attention in engineering school and not maybe like been at home for every other lecture. Because a lot of that would have been a lot easier to understand now. But then I actually started looking at the size of the field, and it's so big that that you can get lost. Somebody was really nice. It turns out that one of my users is a data scientist. He actually does data science for a living, and he says, I asked him, like, I just out of the cure, I've got this interest. I don't know what I want to do exactly, but maybe just as a hobby, I'd like to learn something for the intrinsic value of learning.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, if you're, especially for somebody like you, you need to start new things like this with a project in mind. So have an end goal. So let's say you want to look at your sales data and analyze trends or something like that. Or just start with a fixed problem in mind and go with that. Because otherwise you'll be looking at the stars and you don't know where to begin.
Yep.
Other than that, I don't know. I'd like to be a duck.
Okay.
I can't think of anything that I'd like to do.
Yeah, but I mean, it's really interesting what's happening. I do agree with you that data science community is actually big, but I don't see that it's actually achieved its potential yet. I believe that is much more coming because it's not there yet. We as humans we're like getting used to that, and I think there's gonna be a lot of improvements. But don't stop making synthesizers, like making modules, please. Just stay like that.
No, I think that's gonna stick around.
Yeah.
That will stay around until I can't afford to do anymore. It'll be there. Don't worry about that.
Guys, we have 10 minutes left for the end of our interview. So yeah, let's send us all the questions that you want to ask Adi, and before we actually say goodbye. But it's really interesting actually there are some things that I didn't know about you, Animal. And it's really interesting actually. You studied in Barcelona as well, right?
Oh yeah, I did that year in Barcelona. Yes. That was cool.
Yeah, what are you studying there?
Cognitive systems and interactive media.
Oh, okay. Teleco, basically, is what it's called.
I have no idea.
Okay.
Cognitive systems and interactive media is actually a very interesting field, but I think I was just not the right fit for it in a sense because the emphasis was very much on academia.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point in time, I really thought maybe I should do a PhD. And then somebody said, you hate reading papers, so maybe you shouldn't. It won't work out very well.
Yeah.
So it was kind of I don't even know how to describe it in a sentence. It's kind of the science of the humanities of cognition, and it wasn't really an AI course, but we dealt with AI.
Okay. The psychology is part of it, maybe, like the emotional side.
Psychology is a big part of it. Psychology, it's kind of figuring out. I think the best way maybe that I could describe is kind of like just like understanding emotion so that you can put it on, or understanding psychology so that you can make artificial systems more less artificial. I don't know. Something like that.
Facebook and other companies are doing now.
It's sort of not so much in that. Yeah, I mean there was a whole section that was a different department. They had a linguistics department, so they had like a department just for language processing. It got very abstract at times, so there were some strange projects that we did. some very conceptual stuff, like somebody who designed a Tamagotchi type thing, which is basically you had to kind of grow a pixel, and the pixel was this living creature that moved around in a box, basically. And eventually, at the end of the life of the pixel, you would print it out using a 3D printing chocolate. So you print it out as a chocolate, and then you eat the pixel.
No way!
Yeah, it was super. I don't know the person who did this, but I heard about the story, and the whole idea was like it's we eat meat, and this is how it was explained to us. I'm like, this is way too abstract. I mean, this is kind of you're kind of understanding emotional and psychological aspects of technology. Sometimes it was very straightforward. So they had a learning robot in the lab, and the learning robot would be just learning new tasks, basically. So learning how to play air hockey and stuff like that. So you had projects where you had to do you had to make the eye movements of the robot more natural. So like if you move an object very fast across something, then your eyes move very quickly together. So they had to write code. Yeah, so they had to write code to make that seem more human-like. It was unbelievably creepy. I would never want to be in the same room as that robot overnight because it just creeped out or something. But it was cool. It was very interesting. I had an amazing peer group, and I think that's what I loved about it the most. Some really interesting, lovely people, and they were from all backgrounds, so it's psychologists, scientists, artists. I think I was the only other engineer. There were the only actual hardware-oriented engineer. The others there were a bunch of computer engineers and software engineers. So it was a great melting pot. I really loved that year, and Barcelona was a great city. It was a great time.
It is a great city to go there and study. That's for sure. My last question regarding to you and synthesizers is it's actually two questions. Who is your synth hero? And have you met any of the idols that you were listening to when growing up that now in the present they actually play your pedals or use your products?
My synth heroes. I really don't. It might sound a little weird, but I don't think I really have synth heroes in that sense. I think so Tatsuya would be the closest because I think it was very visionary what he did. I am a fan of Don Buchla. Bob Moog, definitely, because I think Bob Moog kind of gets, he always kind of gets, I don't think people understand or fully appreciate the fact that Bob Moog didn't patent anything except for the filter, for his transistor, for a ladder filter design. And the patent for the filter design was only on the use of transistors for the filter design. So if you think about it, if he'd been a good businessman, which he wasn't, he would have probably had a patent on the pitch wheel, and every person would be paying royalties to Moog till now for the use of the pitch wheel. The lesser known heroes, I guess, who I want to give a bit of a shout out to Eric Barber from Metasonics, because you remember I had a tube amp influence.
Yes.
And I think it was Eric Barber who actually made me see tubes in a completely different way. And my upcoming module, the Aurabas, is, I wouldn't say it's it's definitely Metasonics inspired, 100%, because I don't think I would have explored pentodes the way I did until I saw Eric Barber's pages on CGS, and his schematics that he uploaded over there. I said, okay, cool. This is a way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first time I used that particular tube, the S6 SJ7 in a guitar amplifier, I said, okay, this is how I want to design amps from now on. Who else? I think that's mainly it, because I don't really have that much. And maybe this is the funny thing about me, is that I'm not like, I like synthesizers. Don't get me wrong. I love playing, like, I love listening to a Moog or a Korg or something, but I don't have any. I'm not enamored by it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not something that I grew up with. It's not something I had access to.
Mm-hmm.
Even the same thing for pedals, because I don't know how, like, when I made the Chemical Burn, which was supposed to be like the Super Fuzz, I didn't know what the original sounds like. I still don't. I've never played one.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of just went by what I liked, and not, and things that I could build, and not what the gold standard was. But yeah, like, people who I'd really look up to in the synth community, I'd say like they're definitely like, apart from Moog, Buchla,
Mm-hmm.
Sass, Barber, yeah. I would give a shout out to my favorite drum machine right now. So I'm very sure if you're watching.
Yes.
To Berlin.
Yes.
And your other question, it was, have I met the people? I have had, yeah, I've been very lucky. Alexander Hacke from Neubauten is, he made the God Eater pretty big, and he actually demoed the God Eater at Superbooth 18. But I think the big one for me was the producer duo Flood and Alan Moulder, because I grew up listening to all their albums, I mean, from Depeche Mode Violator to U2, Joshua Tree, and Smashing Pumpkins, all the Nine Inch Nails albums that they did together. I think did they do Marilyn Manson as well? I don't think so. But then, so Flood came to India once, and I met him, and he tried out the Pit Viper pedal, among others, and he just loved it. And he ordered. He went back to London, and then he showed it to Alan Moulder, and then they ordered 3 more. They got one from St. Vincent and one from Trent Reznor, and I said, that's just insane.
That is so cool.
Saint Vincent actually said that it was her favorite guitar pedal at the time that she made Mass Seduction. So if you listen to Mass Seduction, it's all over the album. It's on, not just on guitar. And Trent Reznor, I have no idea. I don't know. Maybe he uses it. Maybe he doesn't. I don't. He's too busy winning Grammys or whatever he does. I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he has the time to like gram that. Do it for the gram.
Yeah.
And I also know that he has like every piece of equipment under the song. So who knows? I don't know if he's ever used it. I can't. I have no information to confirm that. But it's pretty cool knowing that your favorite artist, possibly all time, has one of your pedals.
Yes.
With him. That's nice.
That is so sick, man. It's so sick. Life is so nice.
Yeah, I think I've been extraordinarily lucky in some cases. I think it's just you have to admit it that luck definitely played a big part in making a bunch of these things happen. Yeah, and it's a big feeling, like you especially when you don't come from when you come you know what it's like if you grew up in Brazil and you were very distant from this entire I don't know Disney world of rock and metal and industrial, and then suddenly
how did I make it here? Yeah.
Suddenly you're like, hey,
yeah. I mean, yeah, I kind of can relate to that because I mean I didn't grow up in Brazil, but when I grew up in Spain, literally there is like no future if you want to do anything with music, basically. And to get to the point where I am right now, that I actually like do, like I'm talking to you and many other people, for many years I also thought that I'm very lucky, and actually I still think that I'm very lucky. But I also got to the point to realize that sometimes being lucky is just added to the time that you are, and helps you because of your hard work. So it's just that little thing added.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta put in the work.
Yeah, you gotta put a lot of work.
Not putting in the work, it's not gonna.
Yeah.
All
And
the luck in the world is not gonna help.
exactly. And then you're there, and it's like, oh, yeah, I was not expected to be here. Yeah.
No, I was not expected to be here at all. I didn't see any of this happening actually. So it's and that's what I mean. That's when sometimes, like, I remember I had a conversation with my friend and his wife, and she said, why you gotta like slow down. Like, why do you want to work on Sunday, and why are you doing these late hours and all that stuff? Because I was going through a crunch period before Super Bowl, and at some point I said, I'm just incredibly fortunate to be doing what I do in the first place, and to be doing it profitably. It doesn't happen very often. So you're passionate about something, and you get to do it, and you get to do it, and people pay you to do it, and that's kind of your. I think then it becomes your responsibility. I'm not saying work yourself to death and become like a cautionary tale from. Yeah. Don't be a cautionary tale from the from Japanese salaryman legends, where you like die out your death.
I also think
there
is a big difference when you have your own company that when you are working for somebody. That's a big difference. Like for example, if you have your own company, don't work yourself to death, but there is gonna be that time when before Super Bowl, everyone is going crazy because they have to finish things to show them a Super Bowl, that they have to be ready, and that's normal. Like when you go to Super Bowl,
normal,
you see people. Do you see that their faces they have been stressed for weeks until that day that is Super Bowl? That it starts on Super Bowl. But if you're working for like a company that is not your business, so to say, it's not that you should be lazy, but you're getting paid the same amount of time, the same amount of money for those hours. Like overworking yourself is not going to. It's just gonna make the other rich, not you.
Yeah, and you also, I mean, if you're working on in your own company, then you also have the responsibility to understand all the things that you don't want to understand. So you have to read the books on finance, and you have to understand how balance sheets work. Because if you don't have cash, you can't make beep 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 noises. I comforted myself when I saw everybody at Super Bowl looking like they just like run the ultra marathon or something. And then I also thought about, you think this is bad? What if you're actually working in medical devices and you're going to a medical device trade show? Because there's entire like dimensions of extra zeros behind
on everything,
behind launching that product on that day, etc.
Yes.
Yeah. So I said, it's okay. You'll have to do these things sometimes, but it's the other thing that the last thing that I really emphasize on is when I discovered that what I was maybe doing right is you have to understand that the brand is not just like a nice logo and everything, but it's kind of the entire promise that you give to your customer along the way. So whether it's the packaging or it's the way you lay out your components, making things accessible. And I think that just demands work, because if you want to create something that has an identity, then you have to really put in that extra time to make sure that your brand delivers.
Yep.
So it's fine. I mean, I am often tired, but it's not.
I mean, I'm gonna tell you that it's business life. Like, if you had the responsibility of having like 100 employees, I'm 100% sure you would have been more bold and more tired.
Probably.
So yeah, it is.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Okay. The last. Sorry, what do you say?
I enjoy it. I mean, it's fun. So.
Yeah, but I mean, it's good though. Like, I guess we're like, we enjoy that kind of stress, you know.
Yep.
My last two questions are totally not related to food, to music, because they're related to food. So my brain actually just. What is your favorite food and your favorite sweet?
My favorite food is a really difficult one. I think my favorite food is still very much Indian food, because that's the thing that I miss when I was studying abroad, and even I spent a month in Europe in 2017, and I finally broke at some point. I said I need to eat Indian food. So I went and found like in Vienna, I found a Pakistani food place, and I said, this was amazing. I was just so, like after 1 month of not eating anything with some sort of spice levels, I said, okay, this is good. But there's a very specific thing that I like. I like coastal food from India, so it's the food from the West Coast specifically. So that's very heavy on coconut and spice and sour flavors.
Okay.
And that's, although I'm pretty much gone almost completely vegetarian now, but I think the one thing you can always get me in to say yes for is something called prawn curries and rice. It's just like a staple coastal food. It's prawns and coconut curry, fairly spicy. With rice. That's it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And sweet?
Chocolate chip cookies. And actually, I'd say it's I have a thing for dark chocolate, so I don't like sweet chocolate. So this is what I'm eating right now.
Oh, 75%. That's a good percentage of dark chocolate. I mean, that's chocolate is whiskey.
Yeah, that's my kind of minimum. So I'll even do the 99% sometimes, but then I have to be in a specific mood for that. But yeah, I like dark chocolate. I love chocolate chip cookies, the chewy type. So.
Okay, good to know. Then next time we see each other, whether it's a super booth or not, I'll bring you special chip cookies.
Oh, excellent.
Yes. Well, dude, that's it. We're like 2 hours and 11 minutes here. Thank you so much.
It was fun. That was actually a lot of fun. Some good questions there.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you also, guys, for the questions. So like, it was really fun though. Thank you again, dude. I had a good fun. I also like learned a few things that I didn't know about you. So awesome. And
now everybody knows.
yeah. I just made them public. And thank you so much also for like keep it up, because one of the reasons why I decided to do this is to have people like you that could inspire others to do whatever they want, whether it's like in the synth industry designing or making music or just making bread. It doesn't matter. But I really admire you a lot, personally and professionally. You know that.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. That's really sweet.
But yeah, I mean, I do, man, and it's something that I personally feel inspired a lot by your career, by your products, by everything. And like I cannot talk about Britney Spears with many people either.
Yeah, Britney Spears.
Britney Spears
She must be free Britney.
Yes. And so thank you for sharing your experiences with me and with the people. And thank you so much for
my pleasure completely.
For keep it up, and please don't stop making distortions because they're nasty and I like them. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay indoors if you need to, and yeah, hopefully we'll meet when all this is behind us, or maybe a part of our lives. I don't know.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I'm really, really hoping that we can make it to Super Bowl next year.
Yeah, I hope so too. And probably we have your synth at next Super Bowl. So who knows? I'm just gonna leave it there. Well,
yeah.
You love that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining. I hope you had as much fun as we did here, and I hope you can come back and watch it. And thank you so much. Next week, same time at 7 p.m. Friday, I will be here with This Is Not Rocket Science, Priscilla and Stijn. I suck at this, and I'm sorry beforehand because I don't know if I can pronounce his name properly, but they're really sweet too. And they also have the Phoenix, who is news. We'll see what's gonna happen with that. So yeah, that's it. I'm just gonna say goodbye, Adi. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much again. This was lovely.
Yeah, it was really nice. And thank you, nerds. Thank you for joining me. And as always, may the force be with you. See you next week. Bye.